welcome everyone who's watching. I'm your host, Michael Armorgan. I'd like to thank you for joining this week's episode of Tech Talk. Um, with me today, I have a special guest, Matrix, who uh, I, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Once again, I'm Matrix Blue. I work in IT. I'm a systems engineer. Um, Pretty much working building servers, maintaining network infrastructure, occasionally delving into some PBX systems. I love what I do. I've always been passionate about technology, especially mobile technology, emerging things that are coming out. I spend a lot of time on YouTube, like reading tech news, and on Reddit as well. And also a semi-serious gamer.
Now, Matrix and I have known one another for years now, and we'd actually talked about something similar to this show about a year or two ago, and I was already tossing around the idea from then, and so now here we are, finally doing it. Finally doing it. But this episode we've got a lot to talk about, as per usual with Tech Talk. But we're gonna be going over this week's past news information. So we've got to be talking about Twitch, Google, Samsung, Qualcomm, Facebook, Microsoft, Razer, Apple, OnePlus, IFTT or If This Then That, Amazon, Nintendo, and a few others. So, jumping right onto it, we have Twitch. Now, Twitch is, if you're watching on Twitch, you probably already know this. If you're watching on Facebook, then this might be something new to you. But Twitch is one of the other, I currently stream on two places. So that's Twitch and Facebook at the same time. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then, well, you're probably watching the edited version of this show. But on Twitch, they've had for a long time now something called partners. Now, those partners have always had those special features like subscriptions. They've had better encoding rates so that it's easier to watch them without the buffering. They've had special emojis and like a few other features, including like a merchandise store with their logos and a bunch of other stuff. And they're typically the persons that sponsors really go for. Um, but that's been changing with the affiliate program that they've rolled out not so long ago. And they've actually upgraded that just this week as well. Now allowing for affiliates to not only get the subscription feature, which means that if you have something like Amazon Prime, you can log in with your Twitch account, link them up, get a something called Twitch Prime, and actually subscribe to your favorite streamer for completely free. It doesn't cost you anything extra than what you're already paying for your Amazon Prime account. Not only that, but they're also giving one sub emotes. Instead, like partners get crazy amounts, like I think 50. But yeah, so it's becoming more and more even, I guess, in a sense, and making it more viable to just want to become an affiliate.
And that's been a growing trend. Like I've been consistently watching Twitch for probably the last 2 years since I started getting involved with Destiny. Twitch is a huge part of the community. As a matter of fact, there's this thing called DestinyCon going on right now where the community has raised over $1 million to donate to St. Jude's, and that's happening entirely on Twitch. Just a few well-known streamers have been donating their stream time towards that particular charity. But I remember back in the day, like in the earlier days of Twitch, in order to become subbed, you had to. I think we had to have something outrageous where we had to have at least 500 concurrent viewers at one point in time.
Yep.
So getting subbed was like it was a difficult thing to do. It was really hard. Like a few people have been streaming for months and months, and they didn't get around to it. But gradually, even a few of my favorite streamers who weren't as popular as the main guys, but there's some guys who consistently pull like 10,000 views like during their stream, like 10,000 concurrent views. But one of my favorite streamers, he does trials carries, which is a game mode in Destiny, which is highly competitive. But he he on a good weekend he averages about like 120 views, but he's been subbed for like a year. I think he just celebrated a 1 year sub like a month ago. But like I've noticed like they've becoming quote unquote, I don't want to use this term, but casual friendly
Hmm.
towards toward making ways for regular people, less less monopolistic streams to like to get some to get some money, because I think they realize that a lot of third party services were actually filling that gap. Things like Game Wisp, where you weren't necessarily partnered with Twitch, but you can be partnered with Game Wisp and people would subscribe, because if you really like this one particular streamer, and some people, and they had to really acknowledge that some people prefer the actual smaller communities. Like if you go into a large stream when there's 1,000 people there, and there's no way. I mean, it's very unlikely that the streamer is actually going to see a message in chat and actually respond to you. Some people actually turned off by that. Some people prefer to go into the stream where you have 100 people, 50 people, 40 people, etc. And they like to hang out there. They actually get to know the other people in chat, and this is like a smaller community, a smaller tight knit. But it creates a conflict where they actually want to support that person, but Twitch, where with the old philosophy that they've been catering toward the giant people, the giants of the industry, they didn't really make a way for me as a person to support this one guy who I like because he wasn't ultra popular. So I think that's the philosophy that's been on the rise of Twitch.
Well, I know there are a lot of other ones, and there's one that I was considering using, which is Streamlabs. But I mean, even people like Patreon. Um,
Patreon.
Patreon is one of the ones that has
Patreon.
really started to go off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there was also the issue because I think it was just this past week as well. There was a streamer that got a really nasty chargeback because of using something like Streamlabs and whatnot. And they've been fighting stuff like this for some time now. And so what pretty much chargebacks are is when, say, you donate to a stream using something like Streamlabs or GameWisp or something like that, and it goes to your PayPal account. Now, because it goes to your PayPal account, they then are able to go in and say, "Oh, well, I didn't mean to pay this person," or something along those lines. Um, and then PayPal then takes that money back from you, pretty much causing you to have a processing fee, which can be quite a hefty amount. And like if that happens consistently, and there's not enough like evidence that hey, I'm a streamer, because Twitch PayPal is just starting to really come around to this whole idea. Um, they will saddle you with those fees, and you will get screwed. And he was screwed out of like thousands of dollars.
Really? Just from people donating money then taking it back?
Yeah, like it happened where this one guy in particular was subscribing. Sorry, not
Mm-hmm.
subscribing, was donating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then would take it back. And then there's like even a case where someone was giving out $50,000 like to different streamers, and then
Mm-hmm.
watching them like celebrate and everything like that. And then after they celebrated, he charged it back.
So is this just like a more like a really malicious form of trolling or something?
Yeah, for some of them, it is really just that. It'll like there's no other way to really put it. So
It's
this,
messed up.
yeah, it is. Um, and so I'm glad they actually came out with this before, like I can like me personally, I'm glad I didn't go that route, because Lord knows I don't want to have to deal with something like that. I would much rather Twitch have that protection and cover my backside.
So tell me what this sharing thing is. Is this kind of like the whole Red Cross Fair thing where you go and you purchase tickets and then you, instead of paying cash to the actual vendors, you pay with tickets instead?
In a
That's
sense,
the
yeah, that's pretty much it. Like that nails it very evenly on the head. Uh, so how should I put it? what you do is you purchase a certain block of tickets or chairs in this example. And so then let's say you buy 50,000. You can then give me 100, which is like $1. And like then it'll pop up on my screen. It's like so and so chaired X amount. Um, and that goes directly into my bank account. I don't split it. Now subscriptions is a little different. Um, now I think it's a little off, and I'm not sure if we're really supposed to talk about it, but essentially there is a split when it comes to Twitch. I think for the higher end people it might be different. I have no idea. That's how it currently is. But yeah, there's a split, so you don't get the full amount. You get a portion of it, but it's still a pretty good portion.
Yeah, I mean, people make a living doing this thing, like
Well,
actually playing video games for a living.
yeah. So, but I mean, that's when you get to that point, you have a lot of subscribers anyway, so it doesn't hit you as hard regardless.
Yeah. And that's aside from the donations they get.
Yeah. So the next part about it that Twitch has actually done is that they've actually, well, they're planning on their app. That's the word I'm looking for. To actually, thank you for following Matrix. uh, so on the app, they're actually going to be revamping how it looks. It's going to allow for live vlogging. So for those persons that are just like going out and about and actually just like recording themselves out in the wild, then they
You know,
have
like
that
with
ability.
Pokemon Go.
More so just face. Like it's not going to be recording what's on your phone.
Yeah, but you remember during the whole Pokemon Go phenomenon, like people would actually carry two phones, and they would be
Ah,
like
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
one,
So
and yeah,
it could be just like that. Just like flip the screen, I mean flip the camera, point it there, flip it back, start talking or whatever, however you want to do it. That is one way to go about it.
and I'm sure Android. I don't know if they would be able to implement this on iOS. I'm pretty sure they may not be able to, but I'm sure at least with Android they'd be able to like capture the actual screen as well as capturing the front-facing audio as well while you're playing the game.
It's possible on both actually. It's just a matter of how much they actually want to invest in it. And I think they were talking about possibly doing it in the future. But I know definitely for this one, it's just gonna be like the camera.
Okay, so what would be the point of that? Like you can, like what differentiates that from like an app? Like I don't know if Periscope is still a thing. You know, when Twitter had that live video streaming app.
Well, yeah. Periscope is actually still a thing, surprisingly. Um, and it's still fairly popular, not as much as before, certainly. But I have seen like people like uh no, that was on Instagram that I'm thinking right now.
Live video.
Yeah.
There's
Um
so many different things to do live video now. This Facebook live video is pretty popular. Instagram. I don't have face. I actually do my Facebook account, but I'm still on Instagram. So like every once in a while, I see, hey, a certain person has gone live.
yep.
Like I'm still trying to figure out how to turn off those notifications, but like every once in a while, my phone buzzes. Oh, I'm like, say, when who messages me now? Nope, nope, someone's gone live.
Yep. Like I've only had two people that really go live. And it's mainly ones, but they're it's like Chris Perillo and
Is Chris Carroll still around?
yeah, he's still around. He still deals with his
That's
website and stuff like
that's
that.
the lock gnome guy, right?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that guy in years, man.
he's still around.
I thought he gave up.
No, like I talked. Well, granted that was years ago, but I was talking to him like 3 years ago, and he was still at it. And like I still see him coming up live and stuff like that.
That's cool.
To batter, however you want to pronounce that. Thank you for following.
That's one of my Destiny planmates.
Awesome. So I'm taking it you shared then.
Yeah, I shared the link. Yeah.
Thank you.
My clan Discord.
Um, but yeah, there are still people doing it, and but essentially, it's for those people that I guess you could say are the Ving streamers. Like it's just their life vlogging or live streaming.
Like Justin.tv?
Something like that, yeah.
Isn't that the technology that actually started Twitch?
Yes, it is. Justin.tv is turned to Twitch and refocused itself on gaming, and now it's coming back to kind of what Justin.tv was all about.
Yeah.
Like, because there's now talk shows, there's creative, so there's people playing like music and making them roaring, and it's essentially what Justin.tv was, just being remade again.
It's hard to kind of mention Twitch without, because you know, remember Beam, that Pro that recently got rebranded to Mixer?
Yep.
Have
The,
you have you actually seen that thing before? Like that is like amazing.
yeah, I've seen it. Didn't Microsoft purchase that just recently?
Yeah, Microsoft purchased and they integrated into Microsoft and they integrated into the Xbox. But it's so crazy. Like I'm watching a dude stream, right? And like I'm looking at the latency because I can see when I say something or make a gesture, and I can see when it pops up in chat. Like I'm like, hey, and the dude's like, hey, Matrix. I'm like, what? Like I just typed that. Like and like the latency is extremely low, so you're actually watching in real time,
Yep.
and it's like almost unsettling. Like how quick you get a response. Like you type in something, like yeah, okay, I see you.
Yeah, technically there's like 30 different places you could live stream. It's just a matter of which one you want to go with at this point. Um, but I mean, the Twitch app is also getting some other stuff like dark mode. It's essentially it's beating YouTube gaming and well, not YouTube gaming, no one said that, but the official YouTube app with that, and it's overall getting UI to become more like the desktop version with like tabs and everything like that to change up stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not sure like if that's the best way to go because mobile kind of has its own beast of a UI system and design. But I guess we'll see.
I like the Twitch mobile app, like how does that pop up video? Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
But
My biggest gripe with the Twitch app, because I don't know if you use Google Cast a lot, but I do. I have like a Android TV, and sometimes I just want to like just cast it to my Chromecast or my Android TV, depending on where I am. And when you cast it, it transforms the entire app into just a text box, but there's no spell check on the text box. Like I'm like it sounds like something simple, right? But you have no idea how frustrating that is. Like I'm trying to type and type. I'm like, am I an idiot? Am I Neanderthal? Like if you ever try to use your phone without autocorrect or without spell checking, like you just feel like you're do it. Like it's ridiculous.
oh, autocorrect will still screw you up. So that's
Yeah, but
not always a guarantee.
I would like at least some semblance of civilization in that app. And it doesn't sound like something that would be difficult. It's like they just like yeah, they don't even need spell check. These dudes don't spell check anything. Anyway.
Nah. But let's move on to Google because we actually have Google has done a lot of stuff this past week. Um, and it's a lot of back end stuff that many people probably haven't really heard about or thought about, like that even it was needed. So, for example, there's a part of Google called Area 120 or 120, however you want to call it. Now, chances are you've probably never heard of that. D'Angelo, have you heard of 120 before? Okay.
You just totally me just now.
So, essentially, 120 is a division of Google that's started to do more of the garage type apps and services and stuff like that. So just like little moonshots that are just little things that you wouldn't really expect Google to come up with.
I thought they put that out of Google and put it on the alphabet with those kinds of projects.
Yeah, so it's things like that, but it's Area 120 is a little weird with that. Like it still falls under Google. Um, but
Like what's an example of something they put out or working on?
Well, so for example, they released an app not well, I think it's been a few months now called Uptime, and I think it was iOS only, but it allowed you to watch YouTube with your friends at the same time on your mobile device, which Yeah.
All
So
right, wait, hang on, wait. Walk me through what that experience is like.
okay, so your group of friends would
Hmm.
download the app.
Hmm.
You would all link up with one another. You would put in a YouTube link or search for YouTube and bring it up,
Hmm.
and you press it on, I'm guessing, the controller phone, and for everyone, it plays at the exact same time.
Didn't Hangouts already have that feature though?
It had something similar, yeah.
Because I remember being able to do that, like watch a video, but it was so terrible because people always wanted to talk, and I had to pause the video,
Yep.
etc. And they even went to the trouble of actually putting a push to talk button on there, and like people are always pushing to talk. I'm like, hang on, like let me rewind the video a bit, so we can actually understand that.
So I think uptime was actually just like watching videos together.
So how do you know? Like, how do you find out what video like people want to watch next? Like, can people add videos to the queue? Like how you
Yeah,
would like queuing up on an
I
Android TV?
believe I believe so actually.
Okay, and it's
So
iOS only.
I believe, well, at least the time when I first saw it, it was iOS only.
Come on, Google.
Uptime
Excellent.
app. Oh, okay. So a few days ago, 2 days ago, it's now become available to all. So yeah, it was. I see it on there. Blah 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 is now released public. Yeah, so it's it's been in the wind for us a little bit, and now it's finally available for everybody. Um, but another
Does
one,
does everyone include Windows Phone?
please.
I
People still code for Windows Phone?
actually just saw a Windows Phone in the wild like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but what apps
I'm
do they
like,
have
really?
on it?
No, they just use it as a phone just for calling.
That's probably it. Unless it has Windows 10 on it, then it could probably do some good stuff. Because they've really been working on that App Store inside the Windows 10 system.
Is there a difference between Windows 10 and Windows Phone? I noticed a sidebar conversation.
Um, well, I mean, the specs are of course going to be different because it's a phone, but overall, they do have apps that you can download direct, and since a lot of them are shared across, like that was the whole continuity kind of thing that they were going with.
Hmm.
So you can, like, if you have the Surface, if you've got the phone, you can download and move things around. And it's almost a very similar experience across the board. Um,
Someone in the chat says more like is there a difference between Windows and a trash can? What else is with Area 121? Oh, what's it called? Area 121? What else
well,
have they come up
Area 120. It's another one is called Grasshopper, which is actually pretty interesting. I'm sure you've heard of Duolingo.
Duolingo, the language learning app?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I use that.
Yeah. So typically the idea behind that is, you spend 5 minutes a day learning a new language.
Hmm.
Grasshopper is essentially the same thing, but you're learning a coding language instead.
Really?
So you spend 5 minutes a day, and it goes through some like little quick exercises, and it teaches you a particular coding language that you pick from whatever you want. And yeah, so it's actually pretty interesting, and I'm now wondering why I haven't started using it more.
I'm actually going to check that out. It's called Grasshopper.
Yeah, Grasshopper.
Right? Is it available for Android?
That is a
That
good
OS
question.
that Google makes?
That is a good question. Grasshopper,
Maybe
Android.
it's Chrome OS only.
It is on Android. I see it inside the Play Store.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'll download it tonight and let you know. All right. So what's next on the show notes?
Well, uh, that same area is also announcing something called Adver or a Ad VR. However, it's a play on spelling and words and stuff like that, but it's
Oh, like a
ADVR.
week. Time.
But it's essentially a platform, and this is what you're gonna get, like why they put it like this. It's a platform for ads for VR systems or virtual reality systems.
That doesn't sound like something you should be advertising as a development that you're working on.
Not really.
That's something
Because
you should just surprise, just blindside users with. Like one day, I'm doing some enjoying this free VR technology, then one day, bam, ad. Like what?
I
Just like
don't.
YouTube, they didn't advertise that they were gonna be starting putting YouTube ads in every freaking video that you put up on YouTube. But then one day it just started happening. One day the Fire Nation just invaded, dude. Like that came out of nowhere.
Like, I don't know if you really should do that though, because when you really think about it, like it it reminds me so much of Futurama's like internet episode where like ads are just like going straight at you and like coming up everywhere and when that's essentially what VR is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the internet in virtual reality where you're moving around doing a bunch of stuff. I don't need ads for porno popping up in front of me like when I am trying to learn or I'm looking at cute baby panda like red
Trying to learn.
or like just watching cute baby like red pandas.
Hey,
Like
dog, I heard you like porno ads on your porn.
no,
You
no.
know?
Let's I don't like that idea. I don't, but I know I'm in the minority when it comes to that marketing trend. But
Come on, what was it? Rule 64, 60? What was it? Like the rule that says if if it's on the
Rule
internet,
32?
like there's porn of it.
Yeah.
What happened just now? Did we get
Oh wait,
disconnected?
no, that's Rule 34.
What?
Rule 34. Yeah.
Rule 34. Yeah.
Um, but there's one thing that I'm kind of glad Google has done, even though I have some friends that aren't so happy with it. It
Mhm.
is the death of GChat or Google Chat.
I honestly thought that died about 10 years ago. About 5 years ago,
You'd
since they
think,
brought it Hangouts.
you'd think.
Didn't they replace it?
They did, but then it still gave the option for people to switch back to the old chat system.
So
Um,
what pops up in Gmail now?
oh, it defaults to Hangouts, but you can
Okay.
still change it back to Google. Well, you could have changed it back to Google Chat.
Weren't they interchangeable? Like if you talk to someone in GChat, wouldn't it also show up in Hangouts?
Yeah, it's just some people like the interface GChat had for
I
whatever
mean,
reason.
like a plain white window.
Yeah, essentially,
Okay. Cool.
it it was weird. I never quite understood it,
Is
and
Google Plus Messages a thing? Still a thing?
no, it's not.
No, because you know Google has one. I love Google, right? Google is one of my favorite tech companies. Probably
One second.
my actual favorite. Okay.
Just want to give a quick shout out. Thank you, proud Canadian D, for following. Sorry for interrupting. Please continue.
I was saying Google has never really gotten the messaging right. You know, they had GChat. They eventually came out with Hangouts. There are like a few other things that I can't even remember at this point in time.
Allo, Duo.
Allo is one of the newer ones. I think that came out like last year or year before. And I didn't even bother to install it, dude. Like I'm like all this time I was just because you know I was a BlackBerry guy. I was just looking for a replacement for BlackBerry Messenger at the time, but I would have to go to WhatsApp because I didn't want to give people my phone number. Like now that's the norm. Now you give people your phone number in order to message them, but I just want to be associated with an ID. So I tried Kick Messenger. Kick was probably the most unreliable messaging experience that I've ever had. And like when it worked well, it worked great. But like you would have sometimes where the messages just wouldn't send, and it was just a nightmare. So I say, you know, Google is a reliable company. You know, Google will get my messages there all the time. But it was so hard to get people on that platform because like, how do I add you to Google Chat Hangout? I have to actually get your number, put it into my your email address into my phone book, and then I'd be able to message you that way. Like you can't just like say, hey, you know, check me out on Google Chat, you know, um, you know, big, tall, and sexy, one who want to, you know, and you can just send me an ad like that, or you know, here's my barcode, scan this, etc. And when you have the same company that makes 4 and 5 different concurrent messaging platforms, it's like, hey, I'm on Google Chat, which one? I'm on the green one. Oh, you're on the red one. Because remember Google Plus Messenger? Like, what the hell was up with that? Like,
There was so much Google Plus had at one point. Like it even had games when it first came out, and then like that died within like 3 months.
yeah. I
So
love Google Plus though. Like,
it was awesome. It like there's still a community on Google Plus, but it's not as much as it was before.
you know,
Um,
was taking over Google Plus. A lot of it, artistic people, like actual art people.
yeah.
Like that's what Google Plus is really used for these days, because it displays photos in a real way. It isn't as constricting as Instagram, and it has a better desktop interface, so you can actually upload your stuff and you can like interact with people, etc.
And
So
better
that's why,
compression rate compared to Facebook.
yeah, they had a cool rate. Like the photos on Google Plus look really beautiful.
Um, moving on and kind of going back to VR just a little bit, they are bringing out a new standard for VR video. It's called VR 180. Yeah, so it's not going to be like the 360 experience that you're used to. This is just going to be a full 180, like from here all around to here. And they're saying that it's for those people who don't want to get all that in depth with a VR system. Like they don't want to have to look around behind them to see something that's happening behind them. They just want to like see where all the action is. And I
Keep
mean,
in mind, like I've never used VR, but it always felt like weird because if, like, let's say that someone like actually made a VR product that was intended for human consumption, right? Every single second you could be wondering if you're missing something. If you have things with your things that are not in your field of view, like that's why we like widescreen things, so you can actually have everything within your field of view, so you don't feel like you're missing something.
yep.
So when you turn around, you have to look around and see, hey, I wonder if there's something interesting over there, etc.
I see this really being used for something along the lines of like, because they've been going with the VR things for like, at least for the US, elections and like political rallies and stuff like that, where you can watch live and it's in VR or whatever. Or say, like a technology event where you can watch it in VR or whatever. Um, you're only really needing to focus on the stage and maybe to the left or right just to see like people walk up. You
Yeah,
don't
but
need
there's
to see
someone
behind
epic
you.
in the crowd doing. There's someone doing something epic in the crowd, and everyone's laughing. And you have to like turn around and see the person. Is.
Well, with this, you're pretty much screwed with that. But the whole entire thing
What?
is, well, because it's, remember, this 180 is just here. So if it's behind you, you're not gonna be able to see behind you.
Two questions. Number one, is it an open standard? And number two, do you think VR is actually going to catch on, or do you think that's just the 2010 version of 3D? This is just
Um,
like a fact.
I do think it will catch on. Um, it just needs a little bit more time and resources. And I think companies are starting to realize that. So, like, for example, the week before last, Samsung had just recently bought a new company that is, people are guessing that the reason for the buy is just to make VR content because that's essentially what that company is all about. And of course, Samsung is dealing with Oculus, and that's a VR system. So,
Didn't Facebook buy them?
uh, yeah. So, well, it's in, yeah, essentially.
You didn't mean essentially did Facebook buy them, or like you sell them, or
There's
what
still
actually happened?
some legal issues that are actually happening. Like I think one of the other VR companies are saying that the code behind it is the developer who developed the code for them then went over to Oculus, created the code. Oculus got bought out by Facebook, and so there's now something
So they pretty much bought an intellectual property dispute.
that, yeah, essentially.
No, that's what I said.
So we're not, at least in my opinion, I'm not sure what's exactly going to be happening with them going forward. But for now, use your Oculus. Um, but I do think it's going to be going forward. Now, your first question, what was that again?
Is it open? Is it an open
Oh,
standard?
open standard. I am not 100% sure. More than likely it will be, um, because they're already talking about it needing new hardware and stuff like that. And there's already a lot of devices that just go with a 360 standard. And I think Google would want this to be as well used as most things. So it's probably going to be along the lines of the WebM standard.
Yeah. But the thing is, um, there have been open standards that are actual like open source equivalents of proprietary standards. Like the most notable example is the H 2.64 standard, which became X.264 standard when people started pirating movies and TV shows on the internet. But if you have a hardware decoder that's designed to decode H.264, it can also decode the X.264. So maybe it's an open standard based on that. Because I would imagine it's something that's, as graphically intensive as VR would greatly benefit from a hardware decoder versus having to use a software on whatever device you use.
And that's part of it as well, because 360 uses a lot more of the processor and everything like that.
Sorry, what resolution do they render these VR stuff in?
Well, it depends. Some of them go up to, I think, 2K.
Oh.
But I know this particular one, they're saying it's going to be going up to 4K.
Okay.
So not only is it going to make it easier and to just actually like stream it things live, because it's not gonna it doesn't have all of that extra stuff. It's gonna hopefully look beautiful just because of the 4K. Now it's
I'm
a
more
matter of,
concerned. I'm more concerned about it being reliable.
yeah.
I mean, like great compression that doesn't really take away from the quality too much. That doesn't stutter. Something that's seamless, where you can just put it on and just forget about the jankiness of it. Because I seem to remember, because I've been following this VR thing. I've been wondering why people haven't given up on this thing yet. But do you remember, like in the earlier days, people started to it caused them to become nauseous?
Yep, I remember that.
And people say because it was the resolution or frame rate wasn't high enough or something
The
like that.
frame rate was the main issue. Not only that, so like when you turned, it would lag a little bit, or just like go like that. And so the frame rate wasn't where it should have been.
They fixed these issues already?
Now, yeah, for the most part, that's part of the reason why Samsung's Oculus tie-in uses an actual Galaxy device, because the resolution, well, the frame rate on that plus the resolution, there's no issues with it. Now for the other ones that like HTC Vive and others like that, I'm not 100% sure on, but I haven't really heard too much issues with it.
What about cardboard?
Sorry? Oh,
Cardboard.
cardboard. Well, again, that depends on the phone. I know I have my cardboard. I have not had any issues with it with my 6P or my 6 when I use 6.
Six is the biggest one there.
But
I said that because I still use it.
there you go. But not only that, I mean, this new standard is going to be using like even stereoscopic. So it's going to be giving even like that 3D depth kind of effect to things. So
Is
it's got
there
a, yeah.
like how with the Nintendo 3DS user?
Uh, I think the best way to really put it is bokeh.
I mean depth of field.
Yes.
Okay. So how does it determine the depth of field? Because so like it would like track where your eyes are looking.
I'm not sure. Like it's that like parts like that I'm not 100% sure on. But it sounds really interesting. Now, if it's just like the person controlling it and you see it how they want you to see it, that's one thing. If it's where your eyes are, that's going to be kind of crazy.
I know you also run a gaming show, so how do you feel about VR and gaming?
I think
PlayStation's been pushing that. Sony's been
I think it's going to definitely become a thing. Um,
You
how
want to
it
play
actually?
Would you like play Resident Evil in 3D?
Oh my gosh. At some point, I probably may, but Lord knows if I
You should
do it,
stream it.
it is
Did you
going to be
see?
streamed, and
Dude,
it
I
is
watched
going to
some of
be
the
like probably on
stream.
Halloween or something like that in a completely dark room, like with like just like a light just so people can see me.
I'm gonna come to your house and I'm just gonna start throwing rocks to them.
Don't don't do that. Don't. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think VR and gaming it's definitely gonna become a popular thing as it catches on. It's already been like people have been doing stuff like that. And people have been walking up on them and touching them and they've freaked out. And like
I saw some
sometimes
streams. Those were hilarious, man.
like there are people that have done it and just the game itself, like something will pop out. Like
Your
there
audio is
was
kind of
one
cutting out for me.
was like he backed himself up into a corner. He's like, I can see everything. There's no way this thing is gonna get me. It comes to the wall. He turns around, freaks out, like takes his headset off and like throws it on the floor and says, "I am done." She freaking came out the wall. I am done. Yeah, it's definitely got its moments right there.
Can't imagine playing Dark Souls. And,
um, okay, so continuing on, Gmail. You won't act. They will not be reading your Gmail accounts, scanning your Gmail emails for advertising purposes anymore.
so how are they gonna monetize it?
Probably with just regular ads
Yeah.
because they already like watching what you do everywhere else anyway. So,
Do you remember that Googled Microsoft anti-Gmail campaign that they had a few years ago?
oh yeah,
And you hear about?
yep, I remember that.
Like, Microsoft went ham on Gmail, but people like do it. I don't care, man.
No one really cared. People still use Gmail to this day, like more so than almost any other thing. So,
School.
yeah.
But that's
Now,
surprising though that they would actually, give up on the personal assistant. I guess they really know so much about you because you have an Android phone and they know where you go, what you do, who you talk to, all that quote unquote analytic information they send back to you. And then you don't need to scan it. Just look at everything else.
yeah. So, yeah, that's essentially what I was saying. So like they pretty much know everything about you anyway without having to go through your email. Um, Android Pay, which has still yet to hit most places in the Caribbean and the West Indies, has, surprise, surprise, gotten 60 more banks. But no, again, none of them are here.
I mean, think about it. Like most of the places, I don't say most of the places. A lot of the places they shop, they still don't accept credit cards. So it isn't like they would have a huge market penetration.
That's true, but those are more like mom and pop stores
Sure.
for the most part.
That's why I support the small business man. I mean, the small business people.
But I think Square needs to actually put some investment here and like tie in with the banks. That
Square,
way,
I mean, like that company is still a thing.
yeah, Square is still a thing.
Yeah.
That store inside the mall, the one that sells coffee right next to the movie theater, they use their
Yeah,
entire system
the
is Square.
imitation Starbucks.
Yeah,
Is that place like called Coco's or something like that?
yeah, something like that. But their entire system is Square.
Yeah. So I can go there and tap my phone and pay.
Yeah.
And you know how long it's been since I've used an NFC reader in my phone?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
You know how long it's been since I've used an NFC reader in like my phone?
Yeah, it's been a while
Like
for me too.
when NFC first came out, like I was all gung ho about like I bought some of those NFC. I think I showed you one before, like those little Android NFC things where I like tap my phone and do all kinds of crazy stuff to it that I eventually got bored.
Yeah.
And then you would like do this like and put the phones together and like like send stuff, whatever. But then Apple actually did,
But yeah,
um,
so there's that difference. Um, YouTube will also be the app will be changed based on recorded video size. So for those persons who like to record like this, your video is going to be showing up like this and it's actually going to be shrunk down and so you won't get those black edges anymore. So that's an interesting thing. But if you are watching, say, on your phone and you decide that you're going to look at your comments, instead of it being full screen, it's going to start cutting pieces of it off. So you only see a little portion of the video until you scroll back down, you like watch the video again.
sorry, what app are you talking about? You cut out during the beginning of your statement.
the YouTube app.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so as you record it, like if you record like this instead of
Hmm?
saying people like this,
So they're killing vertical video finally.
yeah, they're killing vertical video.
Oh wow! Because you remember they had they had a YouTube. It wasn't the main YouTube app there. They like a YouTube video app where when you started it, they would tell you to turn your phone.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, dude, like okay. Yeah. But it's like so weird holding your phone like this.
Yeah. But
So you're gonna crop it automatically.
it's gonna
Okay.
be cropped automatically, and as soon as you move back down, it's gonna like show more of the video. So it's gonna be interesting. Um,
That's hilarious.
it's gonna be interesting. Now, there's a rumor going about with the Pixel device, the Pixel 2, is that the Pixel 2 XL, which is the larger version of it, is going to more outshine the Pixel regular version, well, Pixel 2 regular version. Just because it's going to still have the 3.5 millimeter jack, which supposedly the Pixel 2 is going to be getting rid of, so it can have space for stereo speakers.
Listen here. This this 3.5 millimeter jack is a serious source of contention for me because, in my opinion, like any phone that doesn't include a 3.5 millimeter jack is just that's just unacceptable. Like seriously, like just stop. Like don't follow Apple down that path. You know, Apple has gotten a lot of things right, but I think they're wrong on this one because I don't think there's a single person who doesn't miss their 3.5 millimeter jack. I mean, people say they. I actually saw a lady in Solomon's Fresh Market out in Old Fort Bay, you know, with these AirPods in their ear, and I'm like, okay, that looks cool or whatever, but you know, you still got to charge those things. You know, there's nothing that compares to the diversity of just being able to grab, you know, these headphones, just plug it in, and you know, listen on the phone, and then take it out, plug it into your laptop, and then just move like that without having to pair, repair, and everything. Because I have Bluetooth headphones that I use in the gym and whatever. But like just that whole pairing process is like you have to sit down and repair things. You have to think about the whole thing of charging the phone, etc. And I really don't think Android phones should go that route in general.
Well, unfortunately, it seems that some of them are. Um, granted, granted, at least from what this is saying, the Pixel 2 XL will still be keeping it because it has the space to do so. Um, but in another part about it, the XL2, well, the 2XL will also be getting smaller bezels all around, whereas the Pixel 2 regular is going to pretty much keep the same bezels that the Pixel has.
They might as well just call it two different phones at that point in time because it sounds like because the when you use XL or Plus or whatever name that you use, it implies that it's the same phone just bigger. But these phones seem like drastically different. Well, not drastically, significantly different in the features that they offer and the design philosophy of it.
Well, see, that's part of what's been a little off, especially with when you come and look at things like Samsung and Apple. So, for example, typically the Plus versions on Apple, they have better cameras and like more features in the cameras and stuff like that. With the Notes versus, well, the S line and their bigger versions, they, for the most part, they're similar, but there tend to also be like a few little changes here and there. Yeah. Um, and since we're actually talking about Samsung, Samsung has actually well, a leak has been shown with the new Galaxy Note 8 design that looks pretty nice. Like it looks a lot like the S8,
Hey, I'm just gonna pull that up. So
but essentially it's almost bezel-less. It does not have the curved areas. Now, people are saying that the back of it is ugly, but the front of it is amazing. Just simply, I'm guessing because of like how the camera and the fingerprint scanner look on it, or at least the CAD designs, and then what people have rendered based on those CAD designs. But
Wow, what I'm seeing is what you're talking about. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, like the front of it, people like love it. I think the back of it is the only thing people really don't like.
You said this is the Note 8 or the S8?
Note 8.
All right, because the S8 is already out, right?
Yeah.
I thought you said S8 already.
Okay, no. Um, but essentially it looks very similar. Um, it does have those like the curved and everything like that, and it supposedly has the pen on the bottom.
Are those cameras like dual stack, like those old HTC Evos?
Something like that, yeah. But it's probably gonna be like the telephoto lens instead of a wide angle lens, because that seems to be the trend now.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
Um,
remember back in the day when they were experimenting with 3D photos? Because technology always seems to come full circle.
yep,
You know, this thing had two cameras on the back instead of, like, I don't know why it never occurred to them back in the day, hey, include a telephoto lens and a regular lens instead of including two of the same lens so you can, like, triangulate some 3D image.
I've got no idea. But yeah.
And so,
So
this is,
Samsung Pay has also moved forward with it's not as big a thing, or at least I'm not sure, but Discover
one second,
cards,
Delva says the audio is gone.
audio's gone.
I'm just gonna mute this one. No, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear
No,
yourself?
yeah, I can still hear myself. I can still hear myself. Maybe something that will maybe check to see if you're on mute. Actually,
Um, yeah. Now he could have been talking like when we weren't talking and you put yourself on mute. I'm not sure, but Samsung Pay has enabled support for Discover cards, which is I'm not sure like how popular Discover is anymore. Like I haven't. Well, maybe that's because we're in the Bahamas, but overall, I don't really have that many friends that have Discover cards, I think. So,
American
yay.
Express.
Now they have finally released a list of Galaxy devices that will be getting Android 8.0 or O, or as some people are calling it, Oreo or it's not orange sherbet. Wow. Okay, there was enough
Remember, this Android was prophesized to be all
prophesized, but there's
from
another one.
Lollipop days.
Yeah, there's another one that they're saying that it might be. Um,
But I saw your list and everything, and that's well and good. But when are they actually going to implement these? Because
that's the thing. We don't know. You never know
from
when it comes
from
to
my
Samsung.
from my understanding is that this version of Android is like a game changer in terms of updating phones because they actually split Android from 2 layers to 3 layers, so that now you can actually, like, there's the driver layer, like what all the
Hmm.
actual stuff that deal with the system on the chip, stuff, and then there's the Android layer, then there's the application layer.
Yep.
So they actually spill out that driver thing, so you don't have to change that part. You just change. It's kind of like like Android is going to run on top of that. So their goal is to actually make manufacturers update their phones more often. So do you think that this, like, the infrastructure change in and of itself is going to mean that we're going to get this update itself faster, or that's going to apply to future
I
updates?
still think it's going to become an issue because people will still want to test with their drivers just to make sure. And then there's the whole carrier thing where carrier versions are a thing. So the carriers will want to test it, and so that's going to take time before it actually gets released to customers. So you're still
Aren't you
looking at a
glad we
long
don't have
time.
overbearing carriers in the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Yeah, naming carriers are the best, aren't they?
um, the name was Oatmeal Cookie, by the way. That's what people are thinking it might be.
That'd be good for you.
Yeah. But the list is for those that
But cookie, well, it was cupcake, right? When it was seen.
Cupcake, yeah. Those that will be getting it: S8, S8 Plus, Note 8, 7, 7 Edge, S7 Active. Say Oreo cookie. Really?
Oh, yeah, listen.
That could be it. That could be it. You know, that actually could make sense. Um, the S7 Active, which I'm surprised would have gotten. The A7 2017 version, the A5, the A3, all those 17 version, the J7, the J5
They haven't
2017
updated the
version.
J models.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Did you know that there's also a Note FE version?
No, where's the FE
I
stand?
I have no idea. I've never even heard of
Final edition,
it.
flammable edition.
The Tab S3, the C9 and C7 Pros, and the J7 Prime.
Okay,
Those that
that's actually pretty cool because I didn't even know they actually got updated to Android 7.
Yeah, apparently, well, some of them probably, I think some of them came with Android 7.
And those like their lowest tier
Yeah,
phones.
yeah,
Those are the phones that BTC practically gives away, right?
some of them, yeah.
Like those are like the $100 phones.
I think those are the J2s. So the J2s are the ones that they say will not get Android.
Okay.
Though they don't have anything but the J2 Primes, and all of these are from 2016, so you never know.
So a J phone that you would walk into a phone store right now, like how much would a J7 run you into?
Depends on the location, but anywhere from
I'm just trying to get an idea of the
70 to 150.
so it's still pretty like an entry level tier
Yeah,
phone.
entry to
Okay.
mid-level, yeah.
I didn't expect. I know they may throw like Samsung history. They would typically throw a flagship phone. They have two flagship phones, or maybe I think they have like four now. But they would like throw the S phone and the Note, like an update to the next version of Android if it came out the same year. But after that, you were pretty much on your own.
Pretty
That's
much.
good on that's good on Samsung though.
They're saying there's a list that may or may not get it, so it's up in the air. It's the A9 Pro, the A8, and these are all from 2016. The J7, the J5, the J3, the Tab, S2, and the Tab A. All
Mm-hmm.
those may or may not get it. Those that definitely will not get it is the S6 series, the Note 5, the A7, the A5, the A3, the J3, the J2, like I said before, and the
What about the Note
J1.
7?
Then-
Do you know I
Um,
actually have one of those?
huh? Really?
I actually have one, yeah.
Dude, you need to turn that in. Get a refurbished one or something. Ah,
I like it. It's so pretty. Like I don't charge it or anything. It's like so nice to look at.
you got a really expensive paperweight there.
I've actually heard that like if you turn it on, there's a over the air update that would actually disable it permanently.
Yeah, there is. Samsung's also launched four new ISO cell image sensors, image sensors sub brands. So one of
I'll
them,
be on mute for a minute or two, okay?
okay. They're saying that one of them, which is one of the ones that I'm going to be talking about, it's the last one, but the four sub brands are bright for low light images, fast for quick autofocus, even in the dark, slim for thin sensors that still deliver great photos in slim devices, and dual, which will have combinations of different sensors to bring multiple features to one device, which is they're saying is more than likely going to be on Note 8. Now, Qualcomm and a company that's made a little bit of splash recently, Vivo, um, they are making the same splash because of something that Qualcomm has done. Uh, for a long time, Samsung and Apple have gotten a little bit of flack because they're saying that their fingerprint scanners are not under the screen. Samsung's own, or at least more recent ones, are on the back.
Are
And
they?
wait, are they what? They're not
I
under the
don't-
screen?
No, you saying they're under the screen? Like has someone actually done that yet?
Yeah, so Vivo has done that like this week.
Oh,
It's in Asia, one of the Asian trade shows. they shut it off, and it's underneath the screen. They say it can go through thick glass, it can go through metal, it works underwater, it can take your heartbeat and your blood flow information.
All from the fingerprint.
It's just like an area on the phone, you just put your finger on it.
That's also touch sensitive and does other phone things.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing. But essentially it's using the new sensor from Qualcomm for it's called the underscreen fingerprint sensing or sensor. Um, well, actually, sorry, it's called the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. So
Ultrasonic.
because of that, it does all that different stuff. So that's really upping the ante when it comes to Samsung, like I was saying earlier, the sensor on the back, and Apple, because a lot of people were saying this Apple sensor is also going to be on the back, simply because neither of them could have really get that under screen sensor going the way they wanted to before they had to launch.
I'm concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm curious how that's actually going to work, though, because you remember when you moved from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 5S. I have an iPhone 5S right here. You see that they actually had to put that little ring there,
Yep.
and I found that that ring there wasn't actually just for design. It was actually an electronic sensor, so the phone knows when to read it. Otherwise, if the phone doesn't have a device or some mechanism to actually know that your fingerprint is there, it's going to be forced to continuously scan the fingerprints the entire time. So how are you going to put that interface like on an actual screen? Like,
Well, I think the entire thing is that there's not really going to be an interface. It's just going to be a part of the screen where you do it. Now, what they're saying is it takes a little bit of time. Like it takes about a second before it really activates, and like I'm guessing during that time it notices pressure and stuff like that. And so then, because of pressure, it probably tries to read your fingerprint. And if there's not a fingerprint, it just turns off. If there's a fingerprint, then it unlocks your phone or whatever.
I guess they can actually activate it, sense it by the touch sensor.
Yeah. Remember, this is
This,
Qualcomm, so it's at the chip level.
uh, but this just goes back into like technology going full circle. Remember that app that they had for the iPhone where you actually put your fingerprint, like they would like put your finger on the screen to unlock the device, and there was a trick where you would like touch the screen in a certain place to unlock it.
Yep. The
And
joke app.
people, yeah, and people were like, yo, you guys are so stupid. Like the screen can't reach your fingerprint. Lo and behold, 10 years later.
Yep. Now, we're going to move on to Facebook. Now, Facebook is working on preventing catfishing, and it's starting tests in India where it's protecting your profile photos from being downloaded and even from being like people being able to use screenshots to get your photo.
How would the devil do that?
Well, it's more along the lines of, well, if it's the app, much like well, I forget the name, but there are certain apps that actually will block you. Like it will tie into the actual system, and like when you try to screenshot it, it'll say cannot have you get a screenshot. Typically, you find those in like
I don't think
some
that works on
personal.
iOS over on iOS.
Um,
I know Android has a built-in feature to block screenshotting, but I don't think iOS actually allows you to do that. I could be wrong though.
I'm not 100% sure. Like, I think that's why they're starting it off in India and seeing how things go because I think India is more Android based anyway. So there's that aspect of it. So Facebook has also gotten into some trouble, and it's a little funny how things have happened. Because Germany wants to fine Facebook over quote unquote terrorist propaganda and other violent content like hate speech. Lawmakers are quote unquote racing to pass new legislation that would impose fines of up to 50 million euros or $55.8 million on tech companies that fail to remove hate speech, incitements of violence, and other obviously illegal content from their platforms. Companies that would have to remove clearly illegal content within 24 hours. They would have up to 1 week to decide on cases that are less clear. Now, technically, companies like social media companies have already had that mandate for some time now. The governments are saying that they're taking it a little bit too blasé.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're really jumping down with this fine.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about this though.
Well,
On one hand, I don't like I don't really like hate speech, like especially racist, etc. Both of us as people of color, we naturally see stuff like that on the internet. I can speak for myself, makes me feel a certain type of way. However, when we're talking about the internet is supposed to
free
a call
speech.
for free speech. Whether or not someone agrees with what you're saying, you have the right to say it. Um, and when you start and it's like a Pandora's box.
Hmm.
When you open the door to start censoring things, like start censoring things that people are saying that you don't like. Where do you draw the line? Someone is going to come in next time and they're going to censor a bit more. They're going to censor some people who in a country where they're fighting for their rights. They're you know advocating for for civil rights, civil liberties, etc. And that same legislation is a device that may have started off with good intentions, and then eventually became another reason for the government to oppress people.
And that's kind of like what I was talking about a little bit last week, because there was also something about censorship that I talked on then. But it's a really touchy subject.
It is.
And I think that's why, like, just a day later, Facebook then has announced that it has launched a third counter speech initiative in Europe, partnering with the not-for-profit Institute for Strategic Dialogue for the launch of the Online Civil Courage Initiative, or OCCI, which is aimed at tackling online extremism and hate speech. And in the UK, the OCCI will provide, let's see, training for NGOs to help them monitor and respond to extremist content, and dedicated support desk so they communicate directly with Facebook, marketing support for NGOs to undertake counter speech campaigns throughout Facebook's Creative Shop and Facebook's advertising credits, best practices sharing with NGOs, government, and other online services, financial support for academic research on online and offline patterns of extremism and what will make an effective response. And overall, the initiative aims to enable a community of local organizations and activists to share campaigns, experiences, and advice and challenges using Facebook's own groups feature as their networking media.
Well, that's different. That's more along the lines of educating people, trying to encourage people to be better citizens of the world. But when you actually get to the point where you're deleting comments off of Facebook, you know,
Well, essentially, it's still doing that because it's helping out NGOs. Thank you for following Knob Jockio or Nobi Jockio. Um, but what they're doing is they're training the NGOs, and the NGOs are the ones that are reporting this stuff to Facebook anyway. So it's still leading to it being censored regardless.
mm.
So it's still a little touch and go right there.
My whole thing is just that one person's extremism is just another person's real life view.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Um, but moving on from that, Wall Street, a Wall Street Journal report is saying that in some cases, Facebook is courting Hollywood agencies for original scripted TV shows.
Really,
So Facebook is now looking to go into TV series.
Facebook is trying to become Netflix.
Essentially, that's what it's sounding like. Uh,
Everyone's
Netflix,
trying to do
YouTube,
that though. Everyone's
yeah,
trying to get a piece of it because Netflix original content has been wildly successful
yep.
with House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, Black Mirror, etc. I saw YouTube because I actually renewed my YouTube subscription during the election because of those ads that just drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they actually had original content, but I haven't actually taken the time to actually look at that stuff yet.
Neither have I, to be quite honest.
And when I refreshed the stream just now, because one of the helpful ads that Twitch decided to show me, Amazon is actually doing some original content on Amazon Prime that looks pretty interesting.
Yeah. What they're saying though is that Facebook is offering up to $3 million per episode.
Wow.
And it's also keen on procuring less expensive productions that would cost hundreds of thousands each episode to make. And the Wall Street Journal is sources said that Facebook is set late summer as a tentative launch window, and it hopes to reach audiences of somewhere between 13 to 34.
13 to
Just
34. Okay.
it's a little different range than what like most people go for, is because normally like that 24 to 35 range or that 18. But
Can you imagine if someone made the next Game of Thrones like on Netflix?
that I wouldn't be surprised, no. But it would need to get the viewership because I mean, look what happened to Sense8.
I've never actually watched that show.
Neither have I, but I've just been hearing a lot about it.
Yeah, I heard a lot about it too. But Black Mirror, I'm like someone really campaigned hard for that show, and I was reluctant at first, but now I'm really, really glad that I saw it, that I watched the episodes.
I haven't watched that either, so
You should.
yeah. Um, Speaking of shows and stuff like that, though, China has banned live streaming of video and audio on a whole.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Doesn't surprise me either, but it's likely due to because it's hard to police it, especially since it's all happening live and it's not like pre-recorded stuff and like it's being uploaded. So like earlier this week, like companies that used to do live streaming got a notice from the government saying, shut down. So yeah, that's kind of bad for some of them.
I wonder how that affects Chinese Twitch streamers. Like, are they not allowed to do that either? Like, is Twitch now blocked?
See, that's the thing that like I'm not sure, and like how's that gonna work when it comes to esports and stuff like that? But that's for another topic, I'm guessing. But I'm guessing they're gonna have to get some kind of special permit. It's gonna become quite difficult.
That's I mean it is a bit drastic on the whole scale, but China has had that Great Firewall built since what, 2005?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just been their way of life of censoring what the public can and can't see. And we've had different US presidents condemn China over it, but eventually they just gave up.
Now,
It won't affect it probably won't affect Hong Kong, right?
Matrix.
Yo.
I think this one's you're gonna be really happy about.
What's that?
Microsoft. Do you, like, for your own personal computers and whatnot, do you check your GPU usage?
No, not really.
Okay. For those that do and those that may be watching, if you use something like GPU-Z or some other information to see how much your GPU is being used or drivers and stuff like that, Microsoft is doing something that might interest you.
What's
They're
that?
actually going to be adding a GPU monitor to the task manager.
Really?
So much like how you can see your CPU usage and seeing like how high it is and stuff like that, you're now going to be able to see your GPU usage, meaning you won't need those extra little programs to tell you that, unless you're looking for more information, because it seems to get that more information, it's not going to be right off the bat. They're talking about maybe sometime after the fall update, because the fall update they're saying is when it's going to be coming out with this. They'll start to add.
Is this just a graph, or is it like some actual calculations in there, like processes?
More than likely, it's going to be like the graph and some little calculations, very similar to how the CPU one currently is in Windows 10.
That's cool. Now I can actually keep an eye on how efficient my Bitcoin mining is.
Yeah. That's one thing I actually didn't think about with it at all. But yeah, you're right.
The cryptocurrency miners are going to love that.
We're actually going to get to cryptocurrency in just a moment, actually.
Yeah? Well, okay. I'll save this next point for that then.
Maybe not cryptocurrency, but online currency at least. But
did you know there was an international shortage of graphics cards like last week?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they actually ran out. Like graphic card prices like soared to the roof because of all the people buying them. I forgot the name of the actual cryptocurrency. It wasn't Bitcoin, but it was something new. It was a new cryptocurrency that people apparently graphic cards are really, really good at mining them, and much more efficient than CPUs.
Yeah. Microsoft's next thing was that they have a new thing called a sports platform. Sports performance platform, which, yeah, it's a head turner.
Huh.
It helps with sports and athletes. Essentially, what it is an analytics system that helps teams track, improve, and predict their players' performance using machine learning and surface technology. Okay,
Microsoft.
yes, I see the confused look on your face. Let's make it even more confusing. This platform can, for example, figure out when a player is at risk of injury based on his or her most recent performance and recovery time. So essentially, they can then say and this is a quote, the difference between a win and a loss can be decided with, with the help of this by an extra 5 minutes of sleep. Sorry, why 5 minutes of wind sprints, levels of dehydration, or getting to bed 30 minutes earlier than the night before. And so it gives suggestions, and you can actually understand your player a little bit better for the next day when they're actually about to play.
I don't know that Microsoft has the data to actually implement this. This sounds like something that Google would actually come up with.
Microsoft
Like
has been working on machine learning for some time now.
they don't have the neural networks that Gmail that Google has.
Probably not, but it doesn't need a neural network.
Neural network. You know, Google's AI actually created its
Oh,
own programming
networks.
language.
Yeah, I know. I actually spoke about that last week. Oh wait, that was Facebook. Facebook's own actually did the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're chatbots.
yeah, they've almost succeeded in creating Skynet.
Yep.
I don't know. Let's see what Microsoft like. I don't know where they getting this data from. Like, has someone been cataloging this? That they bought like some sports journal
I'm not
archive or
sure.
something?
It's like it right now it's for professional teams, but they're going to be releasing it to like regular coaches and stuff like that as time goes on. But I'm guessing they've been using actual athletes and tracking it over time, and so they've been helping it with grow like that. And so now it's ready for.
It sounds like a new acquisition. That's the only
Could be.
reason I would take something that credibly that they actually bought a company that was like cataloging that information.
It's quite possible. Maybe it just is under the radar at least for now.
Possibly.
Now, getting into that digital currency thing.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's coming into it? Razer.
Who? Who's Razor?
Really? Razer, the gaming company that sells peripherals like the Razer Chroma mouse, the Razer Death Adders, the Razer keyboards, the Razer Blade laptops that are some of the thinnest laptops in the world for gaming.
I has heard of none of this.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
told them I'm a filthy console peasant.
okay. If you're more console than PC, that definitely does make sense. But for the PC world, Razer is, at least for gamers, it's a fairly well-known company.
Is it like the Mad Cats of PC?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a joke because Mad Cats just went out of business last month, 2 months ago.
Well, yeah. But
So
no.
what about that? What about that digital currency?
Okay, so recently they've come out with, well, not so much recently, but a few months ago they came up with a new program called Cortex. So pretty much whenever you log in per day, and when you play certain games, it gives you currency based on how long you're playing and like how long your streak has been that you've opened up the app and like clicked on it and like whatnot. Kind of like a loyalty program for continuously using Cortex.
That sounds like what Blizzard does.
Essentially. Um, Now, the thing about it is they've been giving something called Z Silver and Z Gold credits with that. And now they've invested 20 million into a Malaysian-based online payment firm called MOL Global. Now, I'm just going to call them MOL at this point. MOL has an offline network with retailers like 7-Eleven. Well, that's probably a bad example because they're actually owned by the exact same company. So that already gives you an example as to how big this thing is. Because there's 7-Eleven even in Japan. So, um,
And not
but
McDonald's.
mall system allows people to buy online points over the counter. And these mall points will be rebranded to gold mall points to fit in with the Razer incentives for topping up. Both networks will allow users to buy points over 1 million online and retail stores across Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, New Zealand, and Australia. These points will be redeemable through mall partners, Sony's PlayStation Store in that region, and Facebook Games and other publishers like Nexon, which is fairly popular, especially in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that this deal makes Z-Gold one of the biggest virtual credit card systems in the world and biggest in Southeast Asia. So essentially, that's one of the biggest digital currencies in Southeast Asia as well.
Interesting. And you earn these things by playing games?
Yeah, you can at least, because it measures like how long you're doing, and it has a cap, like for the day and whatnot. So you can't just like leave your game open and it just runs infinitely. But yeah, you can earn it just doing stuff.
That sounds like the opposite of in-app purchasing.
Yeah.
Microtransaction. Reverse microtransactions.
It's all typically that's all about loyalty, but with this it's like, okay, because you can use those points to buy games and stuff now. They want to start having it where you can buy games, where you can buy clothing, where you can buy this, that, and the next.
I don't understand how it's going to work because I don't see the incentive for them to do it. Like, if you purchase their product and you play it like 24 hours a day, how does that benefit them that you use their product more versus that original purchase?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure they have got some little incentive that they personally have going with the companies, but I think they're just trying to build up themselves right now, so that because I mean, look at Twitch. Twitch in itself has started it's selling games and stuff like that.
Twitch sells games now?
Yeah, Twitch sells games now.
Where?
Like, for example, if I play a game right now and it's one of the games that's in the Twitch like store, it'll come up underneath my stream saying, "Do you want to buy this game?"
Dude, I've never seen that before.
But if you go to if
Is
you go
it
onto the
store?
website, yeah, if you go to the website at the ellipsis next to browse, and you click that and you click store, it should take you there.
Shit, I always assumed that they just had like t-shirts in here.
They got games and stuff now too. Like if you use the Twitch launcher, you can get there as well.
Oh, that's messed up. Man, that's not messed up. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. Because that potentially leads to conflict of interest. Because if Twitch is selling my game, then they're more likely to promote my game. Because they have an incentive for doing that.
It's still up to the streamer in that aspect.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the front page of Twitch where they actually promote. Like if you just go to twitch.tv, like they actually like have a stream there that's ongoing, that's featured.
Well, I think because I mean, for the most part, you typically see tournaments there and specialized partners. That
right now,
for
yeah.
A week. But
if Twitch is actually selling this game,
yeah, there might be something like for a release, because typically that's what happens when a particular game releases. You may probably find one or two of the streamers who play that game on the front page. So you never know. That could be a thing. Funny thing. So we're moving topics onto Apple now. McAfee is saying that malware on Macs is growing, which is not entirely surprising considering that there's more people using Macs now.
I'm actually on the Mac right
now. But from the past quarter compared to this first quarter last year, malware has grown 53% on Macs. So it's totaling about 700,000 malware attacks.
How do they actually count those though? Because sometimes if they count them the way like Malwarebytes count stuff, where they actually count each individual like script as its own independent malware, then I think that's drastically overstating the problem.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, to be quite honest. They don't go into full detail with it. They do say like they checked in these different steps, but they don't give it like if it was one particular strain. But I mean, it would make sense if it is because actually I'm gonna get to that a little bit later on. Let me not jump ahead. But there's a new ransomware that we're gonna talk about. But regardless of that and the high number, that's only just 1% of what Windows is facing. And not only that, most of those are adware based
So just pop-ups then.
for the most part.
Interesting.
You probably heard the news about OnePlus and the OnePlus 5.
Yeah, you mean the benchmark thing?
Well, there is the benchmark thing, yeah. So OnePlus, they've been caught cheating in benchmarks, but they're saying
This is like the third time they've done that?
something like that, yeah. They're saying that this time though they didn't overclock the CPU or set a CPU frequency floor. And for one person, thank you Ryan Crush 24 for following.
Hey.
One person at the company is saying they don't even know how to overclock the CPU. What?
Hopefully that guy's in sales or manager.
I think they are. But what?
That's the quote of the week.
The next thing is that persons who have bought the OnePlus 5 are finding, some of them at least, are finding that if they touch the OnePlus with one finger just right, it disables the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi completely.
So it's like Antenna 2.0?
Antenna Gate 2.0. Now, again, it's not happening to everybody, but it is happening to a few. They even have a thread on Reddit. They have a thread inside the official forums for OnePlus. But
You think OnePlus is gonna start distributing a free bumper sticker? Or like a free bumper case?
well, what seems to happen is that they're saying, well, people are just returning them and they're getting devices that don't have the issue. So I'm guessing for some of them they have it fixed.
Yeah. Because you remember, like, that's the reason why, like, when you look at the iPhones, they have like these little notches here for the antennas there. Because it was the original iPhone 4 that had the issue, right?
Yeah. Now, another company that I think most of us, at least the more techie side of us, probably know about is If This Then That, or IFTTT.
Yep.
They have partnered now with 30 more services thanks to the Data Access Project, which now has access to things like Google Photos, VoIP, alerts for things like economy and public transit, and those two mainly because of, well, the majority of those 30 sources are government sources. But they then also allow you to tie into your Gmail to do things like blind copy and
How about
CC
no?
drafts and emailing yourself.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I really like that myself. I'm probably never going to use those. I'm going to keep
You pretty much handing over your entire life to someone else.
Yeah, for the most part. Your Google Photos access, your Gmail access.
Every photo that I take is uploaded to Google Photos, so that's a negative.
Yeah. Like, no, I don't want every photo I have to be uploaded, when I upload it to Google Photos, to be put on Tumblr. No, if I want to do that, I'm going to do it myself.
Dude, trusting Google is hard enough.
Yeah. Now, there is a new ring on the market. I'm just using that term quite well because there's actually another thing that came out a few years ago called NFC ring, which is very similar. And I actually have one right here, which actually has an NFC like right here.
Can I see it?
And then they have another NFC one like right there. So you just put it on your finger and like you can tap it there or against your phone.
Is it to unlock your phone or something?
Oh, yeah, or just like send contact information. Pretty much anything you could do with NFC, you can do on that one.
That's kind of like those NFC things that I had earlier. Remember, I told you I
Yeah,
had like those NFC stickers.
yeah.
They were like circular palm things.
So they put that on the phones, but this new one, token, it's taking it slightly more. So for example, what this is doing, it's authorizing even transactions. So it's going to use the NFC information. It's going to be using Bluetooth. You're going to be able to make, it's tied in with people like Microsoft, MasterCard, Visa, HID. HID is the company that's responsible for like 80% of the wireless security systems in the market. So like getting into your office at work, if you've got one of those wireless security things that you got to put your badge up against, chances are I'll probably work with that. So instead of being issued a new card, issue the information onto my ring.
How much stuff can it store?
That I'm not sure of.
Because NFC, if I remember, those NFC tags were limited to like one or two rights.
Yeah. So, well, not it's not so much rights, but it's still a certain amount of information can only be put on it at
And
one
don't
time.
those cards like use some kind of RFID or something like that instead
Yes,
of
they do.
NFC?
For the most part, yeah, they do. But so here's the thing. Not only that, but not all laptops, for example, have NFC readers or Bluetooth. But say, for example, you have one that has Bluetooth. Like, as an example, in when they were showing it off, they actually showed off where someone with a MacBook, they tapped um, the ring to the table twice, like tap tap, and it unlocked their MacBook. I'm not so, and
The
it
two
has
MacBooks have NFC.
some do, most don't. So I'm guessing it worked more on Bluetooth.
But how does the Bluetooth represent? Because the whole thing with NFC is like ultra short range communication, so you have to be like within like an inch or two for it to work. But with Bluetooth has a significantly wider range, so how do they recognize that tap tap? Is it like a motion sensor or something?
It might be, and they've even built something in. So, for example, like right inside here, inside the ring, it would recognize your fingerprint as you slide it in.
Okay,
So
so wait, if it recognizes your fingerprint, does that thing have a CPU in it?
I think it may, or at least a chip that
How?
recognizes your, at least a chip that recognizes your fingerprint to then use
Like,
it.
I find it hard to believe that that thing right there has the data processing capacity to actually recognize the fingerprint.
Like, well, again, it's not this ring. This is the NFC ring, but it's very
Uh,
similar to this. It looks very similar, and it's probably almost the same. Except that like this part inside here is slightly raised when you slide it in.
yeah.
They're saying it's going to add a layer of tokenization for credit card transactions. In addition to that and the fingerprint and IR sensor combination, it's
So
going
it
to,
has Bluetooth, NFC, and an IR sensor, and fingerprint reader.
yep, and it's going to store credentials on an EAL5 plus certified secure element for safety.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read the white paper on this too, because that seems like way too much in such a small device. Like realistically speaking, that's like future technology.
It's,
How hot does this thing run?
I don't know. And see, that's the thing. Like, the ring will need recharging every 3 days just because of
Dude,
the stuff on it.
that does more than the typical like than an Apple Watch with a much smaller um with a much smaller size
Yeah.
and has to charge less often.
So it's really making a stir because of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I need to look at that. Dude. Are they in the show notes?
yeah, they are.
Take a look at that, dude. Because that just seems too good to be true. Like in technology, it's like rare for like for someone to say, okay, it seems too good to be true. But like it seems too good to be true. Like I actually need to see something like that.
I'm gonna try and get one. So we'll see how that goes. But moving on. Remember how I was talking about the different versions of like malware and stuff? There's a new ransomware that's been hitting Europe, mainly the Ukraine.
Yep.
Uh, it's called not Petya because they it's a new strain of ransomware that they thought was just a variant of another one called Petya.
Mhm.
And when they actually took a look at it, it's a new strain. and it's following it uses WannaCry's exploits.
I mean, Eternal Blue.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, most of these are patched already on like more up-to-date systems, but not everyone updates. A lot of people are still on XP. Uh, so yeah. And then of course there's new strings of that are of not Petra that are popping up just to deliver other types of ransomware or mine cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell people. Like, if you're still running like XP, XP has been end of life for 5 years now. That's like someone running Windows 98 and be like, "Hey, I'm running Windows 98. Please help me."
Yeah, I don't know what to really tell people like that.
Yeah,
That's like still that's
I'm
deciding to
actually,
run ME instead of 2000 back in the day.
yeah, exactly. Except that those two use two different kernels, but yeah, it's ridiculous. Like people don't want to buy new computers or whatever. I don't know what their reasons are, but like, come on. We have had Windows XP. There's been Windows Vista. There's been Windows 7. There's been Windows 8. There's been Windows 10. So there's like 5 versions of Windows that have been out since that your computer has been out, and they don't release a version of Windows every year. They probably release like once every 2 or 3 years. So like didn't Windows XP come out like in 2002 or something like that? So using a 15-year-old operating system at this point.
Yeah, and you want to stay up to date. Good luck.
I'm surprised that Microsoft even patched that one.
Listen, the outcry for it was that intense.
I hear they shut down hospitals and stuff.
Yeah, they did. And that's some of the places that Ukraine were hit as well. Banks, hospitals, the whole shebang.
You know what? I'm gonna take a controversial view, and I'm sort of glad, because at the very least they just purchase like it's like the Hunger Games for the computers. It pretty much purges the entire globe of old technology of old computers. Because if you had a Windows XP machine, that means you just didn't value your computer and what was stored on it.
Um, Ukraine actually did something a little interesting. You know that little meme with the dog like sitting down at a table with a cup of coffee while it burns?
This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
They posted on Twitter that meme and said, our government, so and so services and computers are having an issue. We're working on it with that
So,
meme on an
which
official
operating system?
government Twitter handle.
So, what operating system do you think the government of the Bahamas is running?
Oh, they're probably running XP.
On Windows NT servers.
Yeah,
NT 5.0.
yeah. I would not be surprised. Maybe 6 if you're lucky.
But the thing is, I my company where I work, we do a really good job of keeping our clients up to date. We patch them regularly, and knock on wood, none of our clients have been affected yet. Because they're making the media's making it seem like everyone's computer is pretty much fair game. Have you known anyone who's been affected by this personally?
No.
No.
So moving on to Amazon. They have come out with a new product, the Amazon Dash Wand.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Yes. So it's very similar to the Amazon Dash, except this one has a barcode scanner at the end of the wand for you to scan your products. And it has Alexa features inside of it.
Okay, I'm gonna need to see a video of that in action. It sounds like they're trying to get Harry Potter on us right now.
But not only that, there are some issues with it. So, for example, there's a difference between things that are ordered on Amazon Fresh and things ordered on Amazon. If you scan something that's available on Amazon, it shows up in your Amazon cart. If you scan something that's available, this means that products that may not show up with things that you order from Amazon Fresh. So, for example, if you order tomatoes for spaghetti that you're going to be cooking today, like later on today. Well, probably not today, but example. Um, but the grated Parmesan cheese won't be here until tomorrow because you ordered that on Amazon instead of Amazon Fresh, unless you adjust your order and whatnot and use Prime Now. Um, so essentially, you can order one thing on Fresh, one thing on Amazon. They're not going to get there on time because, there's priority for fresh because things are supposed to be fresh. That's the whole thing behind the name. And it prevents like things getting spoiled if you get like pantry or stuff like that. But it's a little weird. So
At that point, you may as well just go and get something you do.
yeah, at that point. So I see it being more and more lazy than anything.
Yeah, that sounds like something Californians would enjoy.
Yeah. Now, Amazon is also tied up with Nokia to release the Nokia 6, and it's going to be going at a cheaper price for Prime users.
What's it running?
Sorry?
Which OS is it running?
I believe it runs on Android.
Really? I thought Nokia was owned by Microsoft.
How should I put this?
Didn't Microsoft buy Nokia and like burn it to the ground?
They did, and they burned it to the ground so fast. I think they got rid of, or at least something happened to the mobile element, and so some of the people who were behind the mobile element of
What
Nokia,
other element of Nokia was there?
there was the research and development and stuff like that. But yeah, so there's a subset of people who used to work for Nokia. They came up with they continued with the name Nokia and went along with it, created Android because Microsoft still has the Windows and Symbian, like all those IPs.
Symbian is still a thing?
Well, they have the license for it, so
Oh,
they
you
can't.
don't own that. You don't own the intellectual property.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have
Sorry,
to go with something
is
that's
this the iPhone you're talking about? The Amazon iPhone?
No. This one's different. This one is quite literally just the Nokia 6. Just recently came out.
Okay, what is it like? Is it good? Is it? I haven't heard anything about it.
It's a mid-range phone. To be quite honest, it's nothing all that special.
Does it have Alexa built in?
I don't believe so. It's got a 16 megapixel camera, 5.5-inch full HD display, immersive
Full
sound
HD meaning 1080p?
I believe so.
Are you talking about? Okay.
It's got immersive sound with Dolby Atmos. It is
Front facing or rear mounted?
Sorry, say again?
Front facing or rear mounted speakers?
It has one front facing speaker, at least. Got a microphone in the back, flash, one camera, really thin. It's full metal body. Got 3 gigs of RAM, runs on Nougat, Snapdragon 430 processor.
Is that like the mid-tier processor?
Well, the recent one that just came out is the 835. So yeah, the 435 would be the mid-tier one.
Okay.
It's got 32 gigs of storage and up to 128 external.
It takes an SD card?
Yeah, it takes an SD card and it's got a fingerprint sensor.
I'm really glad SD cards are coming back, because when I actually found out that the S7 actually takes an SD card, that blew my mind because I thought we were just done. I thought we just left that behind in 2010 and say we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I was disappointed in Samsung when they did it with the S6. I'm glad they brought it back for the S7 and the S8, and so they coming back for the S8 kind of means yeah, we're gonna stick with this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
I actually went and dug up my 64 gigabyte SD card.
I think I have 128 somewhere around there.
Nice. And I still had all of my training videos and a couple of movies on it.
Wow. And our last piece of news, Nintendo. They have announced the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or the SNES Classic. And it's going to come with a bunch of games on it. It's a miniaturized version, but looks almost exactly the same as the original.
I mean, okay, so it's pretty much they're gonna sell it for like a year, make it widely successful, and just cut it off again.
Probably. See, and here's the funny thing about it. And this is actually a little, it's almost like a aww moment.
Mhm.
When you beat the first level of Star Fox 1
Uh-huh.
on the new SNES system, it
What's that?
unlocks, yeah. When it unlocks the first level of Star Fox 1, it unlocks the never before released version of Star Fox 2.
So you actually have to earn it?
You have to earn Star Fox 2. And the team that made Star Fox 2, when they found out, they went and celebrated their almost 2-decade-old game that's finally getting launched. Like that, I found that was just awesome.
I actually saw that picture. Like they were like drinking some beers and
Yeah, like they look so happy, and it's like, ah, you guys. Like I felt so
my
good for them.
question is, my question: how long do you think it's gonna take people to like extract Star Fox 2 and put it in like into like
Oh,
an
not
unlock?
long at all. They will rip that thing apart, read
That's
that
probably
memory, and
that actually makes it the only SNES game that's not available like in ROM format.
exactly. So I think a lot of people are going to get it just to get Star Fox 2.
Uh,
So I could
they're,
probably
they're,
expect to see that on Twitch sometime
they're,
soon.
prob- they're probably gonna release that on Virtual Console as well for the
Maybe
Switch.
like a year or so after, I think. They would want to really focus that on the SNES.
Who would thought that the SNES Classic would be getting a console exclusive title? Like really,
It's amazing. Like it's got what almost like 30 games that are going to be coming on it, and one of them is an exclusive that's never been released before, and it's like, okay, this is nice. This is nice. This brings back memories.
Mike, at some point in time this year, I'm actually gonna go through my code and build a Raspberry Pi, like a Game Boy Raspberry Pi with all of those games. That's been something I've been meaning to do for a while. I just never got around to it. Like I have all the ROMs and everything. Easily get one of those gaming kits to do.
I know I've got a Raspberry Pi around here somewhere, but I use that for like Street Pass stuff. But
Because when you really think about it, it's like really ridiculous, like how powerful our phones are now. Because when you think about it, right, here's my cell phone that's running a PlayStation 1 game right now. Like I have had computers like back in the day when I first started emulating, I had computers that struggled to play this particular game.
yeah, and it's on a smartphone.
And it's on a smartphone, and the smartphone doesn't even heat up when it's playing. Like it doesn't even stress it out at all.
But yeah, that's all of our topics for this week's episode. It's been a long episode. Um, but it's been an enjoyable one.
Yeah, definitely.
We had a few hiccups and glitches here and there.
Yeah.
But to wrap everything up, everyone who's watching, I would like to personally thank you for watching. We we are streaming on Tuesdays for our Esports Wrap at 6:30 p.m. Every Thursday, Tech Talk is at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like always, if you guys want to be a part of the show, let me know. You can become a guest, or you can just be inside the chat, and we'll talk like that during the show. Um, Feel free to follow, like a few other people have been doing so far during the show. If you feel generous, feel free to subscribe with your uh, Prime, Twitch Prime, or just regular subscription if that's what you feel like. Um, And overall, thank you for being here. The show, of course, can't survive without you guys. And I'll see you guys next week. So, this is More Cookies and Matrix signing out.
Have a great night, everyone.